Hello world, I'm Chris Pirillo, and you've tuned into another live edition of the Locker Room Daily Reports, or TLDR for short. It's your daily dose of me. It's about an hour long, and if you want to tune into the entire live broadcast, you can head over to chrispirillo.com and sign up to be a patron, and then you can get everything that I throw at you, everything, and then some. The patrons, some of them are behind me. This is Monday morning, the weekend of daylight saving time. Don't get me started on that because nothing good will come of it. I don't mind when I lose an hour, but then when I have to give it back, that's when I get a little testy. So it is Monday morning, I will say that. After I get done talking about today's topic, I'm going to be showing off today's Pirillo picks. Then I'm going to be answering questions from my community. And then after that, talking about the news, as it were. So I was up late last night. I went to bed. I was asleep for about an hour and then woke up. And I couldn't get back to sleep for another few hours. So I was rather restless in bed for a lot of different reasons. Many of you know that I've been around, so to speak, for about 20 years. And I've been largely self-employed. I was producing information and sharing my perspectives and discoveries with the world long before most even knew what email was. And, I continue to move forward. But I got to thinking, the way things used to be aren't that way anymore. And every so often I'll get people commenting, and I think they're saying this from a loving place in themselves, their heart. Gosh, I miss TLDR. And I get a little testy again, not just because it might be a Monday morning after daylight savings time, but because I do TLDR every weekday. But the way they miss it the way it used to be. Well, the problem is the world ain't what it used to be. Anywhere, all around, everything's changed. So I wanted to focus specifically on one topic that still seems to get a fair amount of attention. But, living on the other side of it, I've got to explain something to you. Some people have asked, Chris, should I start a YouTube channel? Chris, should I start blogging? So I want to talk about blogging. Because in many ways, the answers are kind of similar to, should I start a YouTube channel? And yes, by the way, I think you should. If you want to, do it. But there are definitely some pitfalls. So in terms of the reason why I don't think blogging is working anymore is because of Twitter, Facebook, YouTube to a certain degree, Twitch, name any one of the social platforms out there, Pinterest, Instagram, it doesn't matter. I don't care if it's a small network of people, a social network, a layer, if you will. Google Plus does not count, by the way. I'm sorry to all three of you who still use Google Plus. Social media has pretty much pulled the rug out from underneath what blogging used to be. And mind you, back in 1996 when I started, blogging wasn't a word. We didn't have the software. We didn't have the mechanisms. RSS feeds weren't a thing. It was difficult to connect with other people, and it was an uphill battle, but there were fewer people doing it. Well, now it's the opposite. It's easier to connect with people, and a lot of people are doing it. So social media, I think, is the biggest problem that blogging faces, because that leads into the second thing that I wanted to cover. There's too much to pay attention to. And this is amazing stuff to pay attention to, mind you. A lot of good stuff out there, which is great. Growing up in a time, I feel like I'm the internet old man all of a sudden here, the curmudgeon, if you will. I grew up in a time when we just didn't have enough. We couldn't get enough information, and I've always had a voracious appetite for researching and digesting and then potentially even throwing it out again with my perspective, whatever it happens to be. And because there's too much of it out there, suddenly the idea or the prospect of starting something new isn't as energizing as it might have been in the past. Because, Diana was joking. She makes eggs for me every morning, and it's great. It's wonderful. And she was joking. She said, yeah, I always laugh, and this is her words, and I'm paraphrasing, when she sees the word expert blogger, because apparently she watches shows where they have expert bloggers. And I chuckled to myself, what does that mean? What? It's not like a hurdle. Like, it doesn't mean anything. An expert blogger means nothing. It's like when someone says they're a social media expert. It means nothing. Nothing, Jedi. I'm sorry. That's not a career choice. Yeah, because we don't know where it's gonna go. That's why. And Wicket, don't you give me lip. Not today. But there's too much content. And it's not that the content that's being published on a blog, on a website, is bad. It isn't. But what I will tell you is this. Sometimes when I want to share information or knowledge, I'm better off spending 3 seconds tweeting it out because I know it may be ephemeral. I know that the chances of me taking the time to build a post around it and writing something, it's not going to have the same amount of return as it did in the past. Eyeballs have moved on. Just honestly, think about the last time you intentionally visited a blog. And there may be your favorite websites are in rotation. I certainly follow the people who still write blogs, but I can tell you, I maybe read 1% of what they do. Because if it doesn't fly across my social feed, I don't see it. And that's the way that attention is going to work. There's only so much attention that we have, and with more and more things being done that draw our attention away from other things, well, where does that leave you as someone who might have a valid perspective? But the problem, again, with that is, it's not necessarily what it is that I might be sharing, it's how many people see it. That's where the value is. Like when I talk about something, few people might remember that I was doing it 20 years ago. Like all that expertise, I'm not going to say that, all that experience, that's what I'm going to go for. All that experience is for naught. It's useless. All the experience I've accrued when it comes to delivering what it is that I have to say to you today is not seen in perspective when I talk about a tech trend, when I talk about something else that I might be passionate about or interested about or have a perspective about. Well, I'm not saying I'm not going to talk about that right now, Jedi. She wanted me to talk about diaper trends, and honestly, I'm not passionate about diapers, so I'm not going to talk about them. Well, I know they're very important to you. I won't be able to do this forever, because pretty soon your words are going to start getting formed, and you're going to point out the fact that Daddy doesn't have shoes on. Yeah. Daddy, do you want to join me? Lives change. Worlds change. Okay. So, Jedi's happy to be here. Are you happy to be here? Yeah. Okay, I was putting words in your mouth and I didn't mean to. What? Oh, I forgot about the stickies. She loves the stickies. Okay, play with the stickies. Play with the stickies. I wrote down my points here. She's good with the stickies, I think, as long as she doesn't touch my coffee. The third point that I want to make, and this is kind of it dovetails into everything else. The models that used to work no longer work. And this is what's so challenging to talk to people about. Well, why don't you blog anymore? Why don't you do TLDR the way you used to? Because it doesn't work. I mean, it works functionally. Obviously, I talk, but it doesn't work. The models, the structure around it isn't the same. I think the era of free content and free information is certainly here. It's present. But being able to further support yourself with free content, that model doesn't exist. Why? Well, ad blockers, the lack of traffic, What? Yeah, you continue to destroy it. I don't care. Yeah, I'm not going to eat the stack, though. Daddy's kind of funny that way. So the models around which you're going to be able to continue to do what it is that you want to do, if it's in relation to written content, video content, audio content, it's just going to get more challenging. And you wonder why it's seemingly every year, not just every week, but every year I have to change my approach. That's why. Because the industry or the world of the internet, or whatever word you want to use to describe this ecosystem, it's changing rapidly. And I have to adjust. Yes, the stack is now smaller because you've eliminated 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6. 6 is a number. You can't count 6 on one hand unless you're the Princess Bride. But you're not. So, the era of getting something for free, if you will, it's here. But for the people who provide it, just because it's free to you doesn't mean it was free to do. And that's something to keep in mind. So, I've been stymied. I've really been, not stuck. I've been grateful to have the true supporters, some of whom are behind me, some of whom are here. I got to talk about the topics that are on my mind, and this is certainly... How did you reboot the device by doing that?
Oh my god.
That was magical, Jedi. That was... Did you... She rebooted the device.
Yeah, I saw
How the hell did you do that? I think we just discovered a new trick. That's great. Okay, can I unlock it now? Can I go back to what I was doing? Let's see here. Actually, that was a soft boot, so I could probably still use the Touch ID. Let's try that. Can we try that again, Jedi? Can I? Don't touch the screen. This is probably a bad idea. Okay, look. Oh, look, you've eliminated more sheets that I'll never be able to use again. These are some of my patrons. The only way I would be able to continue to do the things that people want me to do is specifically through the mechanisms I've set up or am continuing to set up. But I've been stuck. I've been thinking, well, if I make a change, I may make things worse, and that's mildly frustrating to me. To someone who isn't necessarily risk averse, I take very calculated risks, and unfortunately, my options are severely limited. And what is difficult to explain to people is, as much as they may want to see my writing, as you know, I used to write a whole thing in our daily email newsletter, and it turns out like very few people would read what I was writing, and I just felt like I was wasting my time. Your reflexes get faster. Well, you're great for the brain, for an older brain, Jedi, because it's like baby foo here. Are you baby foo? Are you baby fooing? No. Still can't believe. How did you reboot that? Does anybody have an idea how she rebooted the device? She touches this corner and it reboots. I didn't like that color anyway, so you're doing me a favor. It's difficult to explain to your audience that is a part of the process that they're at odds with the model by which they've been accustomed to seeing your things. And I don't know. I see a lot of bloggers, I see a lot of websites and blogs, and I just can't help but feel that for most people, it's going to become less and less valuable, including for the community that may appreciate or enjoy what it is that you have to share. It's not that I'm not sharing these types of perspectives every weekday. It's just that I'm not chasing a bigger number anymore. You just can't. You got to go for a smaller audience. And so I've done that. I can't be apologetic for it because unfortunately that's a market reality that I have to face. And this is something that does keep me up at night. But there are 3 reasons why I think blogging is potentially a stupid idea. Social media exists. There's a lot of it out there. And the models by which you're going to be able to continue are not that great. I mean, if you do blog, it may be that you are selling a product, and there's a lot of other products that might compete against that. That's a trick and a half in general. It's not that your voice isn't unique. It's not that it is a commodity, because it isn't. Every perspective is unique. It's just that in terms of what people might value. Wow, you didn't reboot it that time. It says your name here. Yeah, it says Supernomies. She sees the button. You haven't even played games here. No, those are my apps. Those are my apps. Oh man.
Are you done with these two?
Well, she's done. Oh, she sees icons and she's like, I'm in. You're in? You're in like Flynn? No, don't say that. That's bad. So those are my thoughts on a Monday morning, talking through why I think blogging could be a bad idea for you. But if you want to do it, do it. Just expect to hit some hurdles. I'm here to help, though. If I can give any suggestions beyond, because trust me, I don't have all the answers, but, I'm constantly thinking, constantly sharing perspectives every single weekday that most people don't get to see anymore, unless you're a patron. So, thank you, everybody, for listening. I am going to move on to a much happier topic for me, and show off some stuff, and then I'm going to be answering questions from the community. And then talking about the news. The news, yeah. The news happens. It's not baby news, though, so it may not excite you. It may excite you, though. If you want to hear all of TLDR live every weekday, head over to chrispirillo.com. Today's free podcast highlight was brought to you by all of my active patrons from chrispirillo.com. If you want access to the full TLDR episodes, both audio, video, past, present, and future, which can be up to an hour long or longer, with even more tech insight from me every weekday, plus other bonus content without ads, and support me at the same time, you can sign up to become one of my Supernomies too. This is just a brief taste of what I'm producing for you daily. Again, get more through chrispirillo.com.